Okay, let's talk about Tua, who I think has become a really interesting figure in the NFL. Someone who came into the league and there was a lot of talk about is he good enough to be a starter? I think he then showed he clearly is, had some really strong seasons, but has struggled to stay healthy, and I think people have kind of just sort of turned on him as a player in general, but I still think he does a lot of really nice things when he's out there, and I want to kind of highlight those things and talk about what he does well, also what there is to improve upon, or maybe just what are the downsides of his game. But let's start off with a play like this. So I think when people talk about Tua, this is kind of what they talk about mostly with him, which is it's a zone coverage concept. You have a tight end who's going to run, just kind of try to get into a gap in coverage a little bit over the middle, but more so just trying to draw those linebackers in as the receiver who's running a further route down the field that's going to get more over the middle. That's the one that Tua really wants to look towards. Watch how when this begins, you see right here, so the receiver he's looking towards isn't even looking in Tua's direction at this point, but that's okay. The tight end's route, as you see, did draw those linebackers further in. They're all kind of standing on that logo area, so there is going to be a window for Tua to make this throw, and so Tua's going to do what we know Tua can do. Watch. Times it well, makes an accurate throw, they're able to get a completion. I think this is like the main, this is like the key Tua play, right? It's nothing fancy, it's nothing crazy, but it's a play that works. It's still something that the quarterback does have to do their job on, right? But it's definitely a point guard in basketball situation of maybe not creating your own shot, I guess, so to speak, to use that analogy. But listen, hey, he deserves credit for those plays, but also he does a lot more than just that. If we're going to use the point guard analogy, he can create, guys getting wide open shots, right? Like this play is, I think, to me, this is what I think of when I think of Tua. So first, it's a bit of a clever concept. You have a player who's going to kind of fake as though he's going more towards the top of the screen, but he is going to cut back more towards the middle of the field. Bit of a clever route right here, but there's an issue, of course, right? There's a linebacker over the middle of the field that if he reads this play, he can just cover that receiver, and you only have two other eligible receivers on that side of the field, 3 defenders, 3 receivers. There should be someone to cover everybody in theory. However, when Tua takes a snap, watch how he's going to start off looking towards his right. He's not going to throw in this direction. Like, he doesn't stay on this long enough to see if either of these routes are open. This is not something he's even thinking about doing, but he's still looking here. Why? Well, because a good quarterback knows that if they use their eyes well, they can essentially create an extra wide receiver. Look at the middle linebacker for New England right here. He is moving to nowhere. There's no one that he's covering. He's simply moving out of the way of where Tua wants to throw the football because of how Tua is using his eyes. And these are the small things that, there are the Tom Brady comparisons, which is just like, you can't compare anyone to Tom Brady, obviously, but these are the little things Brady used to always do to generate guys getting open. Because then Tua does look back the other way, and there's a window there that really shouldn't have been there had everyone just been looking at the receivers, but Tua knows that you're not going to only look at the receivers. You're going to look at the quarterback, and if you're a smart quarterback, you can take advantage, and that's exactly what Tua is able to do. You also have something like this, where what's going to happen here is this is a zone coverage concept, and you see Dolphins have 2 receivers running different depths down the field towards the offense's right. Okay, simple enough, but it's, again, it's quarters coverage. So there's 4 New England players who should be covering deep. Right when this play begins, you see right now the corner is cutting further in. He is covering up that route right there. So that route is unavailable. But what does this mean? Again, Tua can process these plays so quickly. It means that now the corner of the field is open. Right there where he has a receiver running, yeah, there's a defender in the area, but he has to cover a little bit further towards the middle of the field. Tua reads this, immediately gets the ball over there, and they're able to make the play. So this is, again, it's running the offense, right? But it's running the offense at a high level. It's figuring out ways to get the ball to the right player and making it work quickly. Yes, this is being a game manager. 1000% it is, but it's being a game manager at a high level. Now, you could argue some negatives can happen with something like this. So like this play, for example, there's actually it's a bit more complex. So I'm just going to kind of go over the basics where it's man coverage and there's going to be a lot of switches. So essentially the safety who's covering the middle of the field is going to end up being the guy who's going to be on Jalen Waddle, who's just going to cut right towards the goal line. But hey, that's a good route that can work in this situation, right? Watch how when Tua takes the snap, you're going to see that right here. So Is this open? In a sense, yes. But here's kind of one of the issues is it's a little bit counterintuitive. But sometimes when you're a smart player and when you quickly, consistently put the ball in the right spot, it can often make things a little easy if you're a smart defender. Essentially, the defender just says, okay, this is our coverage. What are ways to beat it? Well, this route can beat it. Let me make sure I'm paying attention to that route because that could very well be what's happening. Again, it doesn't always backfire. Usually it still works well for the offense. But here you see this was nearly intercepted. Sometimes things like that can happen, and sometimes it just results in some ugly-looking plays from Tua where, like, he just thought something was going to be open. He processes things quickly, but then every now and then, like, a defender got there quicker and then it looks bad. Like, that happens. I mean, I feel like Brady's interceptions, to keep using that comparisons, always looked ugly for the same reason. But like, usually it works out. Like, that's just, there are obviously counters to it if you're a defender. But also, I mean, one other thing is, like, Tua can make some really difficult throws. Like, for example, this play, it's going to be a man coverage concept. It's a pick play. Have a receiver running down the field. That's the one you want to get open. I guess you could call it a rub route if you want to, but it's a pick play, let's be honest. And watch how, when Tua takes the snap, you're going to see that right here. So at this specific point, you don't really know how open it's going to get. And you also, the timing is going to be tough, right? Because you can kind of guess it, but you can't say for sure, it seems. But watch this really just great throw from Tua. It ends up not being a catch, but that's a great throw from Tua. So, like, yeah, he can do a lot of really nice things for the Miami Dolphins, and I do think has become underrated. I think the biggest criticism of Tua is simply just health. He struggles to stay healthy, and that's kind of the main thing people talk about in terms of negatives with him. I already brought up one negative. I guess the other one you can mention is, does he do a great job after a play breaks down when it's been going on for 3-4 seconds? Can he still make something work? There are certainly guys better than him in the league. I think that's fair to say. But I still feel like it's worth mentioning that, I always kind of view football in two different categories at the quarterback position. There is the game manager aspect. How well do you simply just do what the offensive play caller wants you to do? And then there is the playmaking aspect. What do you give or hurt more than that? When no one's open, can you find a way to still get the ball down the field? And there's several ways to do it. The most obvious is the Lamar Jackson just scramble for yards, right? But plays like what I'm showing with Tua, where he's able to kind of use small little things to find ways to still get guys open, use his eyes to get guys open. To me, that's still essentially playmaking. That's the Tom Brady thing. Not saying he's Tom Brady, but just, that's the value that Tom Brady used to always bring above just running the offense as designed, and it's the value Tua can bring as well. So I hope he stays healthy this year. We can kind of get a full season of Tua because he's a good quarterback. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.